Hello, this is OC Skywatch. It is the 5th of September 2015. It's around 8 p.m. and, well, I'm going to be showing you something quite funny that happened with this tropical storm Kevin that was trying to form, but it was undoubtedly smashed. So you're going to see the evidence in just a second. Okay, this is before it formed, September 2nd, 18 to 21:30 Zulu, and you can see here this thing wants to organize, and this thing's gonna suddenly bubble up really good. Unfortunately though, it's not gonna last long. There's this low pressure that was starting to form off of the coast of Southern California. Unfortunately though, with the amount of dry air that was being pressed down, likely prevented it from bringing any sort of rain. So basically what they did was they were smashing a bunch of dry air down here, and therefore it rerouted most likely, at least the thunderstorms part of it, so it wouldn't hit this transmitter on Isla Guadalupe. I gotta move on here, trying to make this as short as possible. Kinda looks like there's some dry air being pressed down here. It's not really noticeable yet, but don't worry, it will be more. This is the same time in visible right here. You can kind of see that there's a lower level circulation. This thing's trying to get itself together. This is September 2nd to the 3rd, 21:30 to 0 Zulu. Kind of see dry air looks like being pressed down. Funny. This thing's starting to pick up some momentum. There's like a thunderstorm head that just exploded, and, well, the water's quite warm here, so you would expect that to happen. As I said, they're probably trying to reroute the upper layers of the troposphere to knock out these thunderheads and whatnot so it doesn't damage this transmitter. They don't want their billion-dollar equipment to be damaged. Although, personally, I think it would be nice if it was. That thing should not be there. It shouldn't exist. But anyways. Okay, moving on. You can see this area of air is getting drier. This is the same time. Just compare this right here to this right here. This right here to this right here. See, looks like it's getting a bit drier. And this low pressure off of Southern California is starting to come in, but there's not a whole lot of rain. And you can see this thing starting to really pick up momentum. Kind of looks like this thing is starting to take a different path already. This is September 2nd into the 3rd. Looks like 23:30 to 2 Zulu. Not a whole lot of change. It's just been a few hours, 2 hours, something like that. There still looks like there's dry air being pressed down here. It's very, very unusual. Water vapor, same time. See this area of dry air? It's getting bigger. It's just expanding. And by pressing air down here, that's going to reroute this flow. It's going to steer the thunderstorm part of the storm out. Not good, because we could use a lot of rain here in Southern California. It hasn't rained for like a month. Compare the dry air pockets now. Gets bigger and bigger. What a difference. This is a half hour later. Still getting drier, ever so slowly. It's just expanding. Okay, this is September 3rd, 8 to 11:30 Zulu, and wow, it just keeps expanding. Well, I'm not surprised though. See, this thing keeps moving further south right here. Looks like it's just going to steer these thunderheads, whatever, over this area right here where my mouse is. That's not unusual. Still, look how much bigger it is. This, in comparison to this, it's just expanding. It's very, very bizarre. This low pressure coming into California is just, it's not doing so well. What's the deal with this? Okay, this is September 3rd, 18 to 21:30 Zulu, and, well, what's happening here? The blob of dry air keeps growing. Look how big it's gotten. There's also some aerosols that are being laid down here. And that's not going to help our situation as the low pressures do not tend to form when there's a capping inversion at 20,000 to 30,000 feet. Look how far south this is reaching now. Kind of see a little bit of a boundary. It's a little bit odd. Here's visible. This is the same time. See a little bit of clockwise rotations around here. It's like there's dry air being pushed down. A little roll cloud or whatever. See some clouds disappearing right here as well. That's a little bit odd. Very, very odd activity here off the coast of Baja. A few hundred miles off. September 4th, 11 to 14:30 Zulu. Wow. Looks a lot drier over here, and this thing's just odd. It's starting to meet up with this thing. Looks like there's dry air being pressed down here as well, expanding. That's just to steer this thing off and prevent anything from hitting this island. Well, what else? Bringing rain into Southern California. Just look how dry this air is getting. There's also a boundary. That's very, very bizarre. Look at that. That wouldn't happen normally. You see the flow is just going over towards here, and this thing's going the opposite direction. It's going towards the northwest. This thing's going towards the southeast. What's the deal? There must be something interfering. This thing here looks a little bit odd. It's like there's kind of a little rotation clockwise right over here. It's not very noticeable. It's just very, very odd. This thing shouldn't be disintegrating yet because it's still over warm water. At least 82 degrees. I'm going to be showing you the sea surface temperature map in a little bit. What is this thing right here? It's almost like there's a area of rotation over here clockwise. There are multiple areas of dry air being pushed down, one on each side, just so it funnels the thunderclouds into a single location. That's my theory of what's going on here. I'm sure the boundary on the northwest side has something to do with dry air. I mean, this whole thing just looks odd. Okay, this is September 4th, going into the 5th, 23 to 2:30 Zulu, and there's really heavy aerosols being lain off the coast of California. And that's to prevent any low pressures from forming, since the jet stream's in ideal position for one to form. With a current flow, it would drive some rain into Southern California. We get screwed every day. Kind of see a little boundary here. And this area down to the south is getting drier as well. Here's the time when this thing's really starting to lose shape and get smashed. The lower level rotation is, well, going to pretty much stay down here, at least for the time being. They just want to get rid of the thunderstorm activity. This right here looks like there's a little ring clockwise action where my mouse is. There's also a very odd area near the base of this thunderstorm, a little bit of a clockwise, ring there as well. That's very bizarre. Getting drier. Lower level rotation doesn't show up in this water vapor map. This is the mid and upper levels. It's all downhill from here. Just take a look at these two areas of clockwise rotation right here and over here as well. Look at the massive blob of dry air. It's like they're trying to shoot this thing over towards the northeast as quickly as possible to avoid contact with this island, prevent any damage. Of course, well, with these operations, that's going to do more damage to the planet just for a little itty bitty transmitter. September 5th, 2:30 to 5 Zulu. The dry air madness continues. Still see a little boundary. Very, very peculiar. Clockwise. That's very, very bizarre. There's a few things over here going clockwise. It's getting dry. Unusually, the water's still warm. This thing is pretty much falling apart. Not nearly as much activity as there was. Dry air is just slamming this thing to the northeast. It's quite unfortunate. Look at how much this has expanded. It's expanded so much that the dry air is just going over my area. And this thing right here doesn't even have a chance. And still, the heavy aerosols are being lain. September 5th, 4 to 7:30 Zulu. Well, These thunderstorms associated with the thing is pretty much done with. There's like a little stream here and still dry air just being, this thing's being basically impaled by dry air. It's like they're attacking it directly now. See clockwise rotation. Let's slow that down. That's very funny over here. Okay, this is a shortwave map. It's the same time. Look at that. Clockwise. You can see the lower level rotations. It's still at the same latitude as Cabo pretty much. So these thunderstorms are being shoved off to the northeast at a very, very rapid pace. So odd, and there's also looks to be some sort of aerosols above the center of rotation as well. This is very, very funny. Why would this thing be dissipating when there's barely any jet stream and very, very warm water here? Going to be showing you jet stream and whatnot in a second. September 5th, 9:30 to 13 Zulu. Still aerosols over here that are being laid down to create the hot air layer and therefore prevent any low pressures from forming. They really don't want it to rain in California, I can promise you that. Anyways, look at the clockwise rotation here. This is just a few hours later. This thing's done, still wanting to do something, but unfortunately there's so much dry air around here. Nothing's happening. Look how dry this air is where my mouse is. This used to be really, really moist. But now look at it. It's turning into a clockwise, and this thing's impaled and it's heading off into Maine, Mexico soon. Same time here. There goes the last of it. Dry air. Bit of a clockwise flow. Little boundary. What do I see right here off this island? I see a little bit of, let me slow that down really quick. See, just look. Okay, let me stop that. See, these things suddenly start appearing. What's the deal? It looks like they're evenly spaced. There's some sort of frequency out there. And the wind is moving towards the southeast. So it's basically a northwest wind. That's kind of odd. I mean, these just appear out of nowhere. Right over here is being smashed. Okay, this is a long wave, same time. Still, we get the classic clockwise flow where these thunderstorms were. You could see a lower level rotation. Look at these lines as well. Very, very bizarre. It's nighttime, and this thing could easily reach over here. One last view at this. Anyways, look at the lines. They appear in long wave as well. Alright then. September 5th, 1930 to 23 Zulu. You just see the lower level circulation here. It's quite a shame. Looks like a funny area of dry air being pressed down over here. A little outflow. This might be an area of downburst as well. Could be from this island. But who knows. Kind of looks like humidity's starting to fill back in this void. Still, it's really odd to have a little bit of a rotation over here. And over here as well. Okay, let's go to maps right here. I know it looks like a lot of tabs open, but trust me, it'll go fast. Okay, this is September 3rd, 18 Zulu, right here. This thing's pretty much still intact. But as you go on, the dry air expands over here, and this thing starts being affected around September 4th, 12 Zulu. September 4th, 18 Zulu, kind of looks like there's air that's being pushed into this band of moisture coming up. The dry air, the west and northwest is expanding. Keeps expanding over here, and this is September 5th, 0 Zulu. This thing's looking kind of funny. It's trying to remain moist, but it's just not gonna work. Because if you look in the next map, whoa, 6 hours later, whoa, what happened here? This thing just like pretty much broke apart. There's an area that was being pushed down in the center of this blob. It just appeared out of nowhere. Kind of weird. Okay, September 5th, 12 Zulu. just keeps expanding. There's less and less moisture in this pocket here. Yeah, this thing's broken. There's nothing left of it. It's very, very dry. This is 18,000 feet, by the way. There's a dry area off this coast. It's very, very dry. It's like where the downburst thing was happening, I think. Okay, this is the sea surface temperature over here. And you can see right off the coast of Baja, southern Baja, the water's still like around 78 to 80 degrees where this thing was killed. Okay, let me show you a null school map. See, 78.8, 81.9, 84.7, and okay, 75.7. That's right over here, but that thunderstorms haven't reached there yet. So why did the thing get substantially weaker over a very, very short amount of time when the water is this warm? And also the jet stream. Okay, let's update this animation for like 4 days. Okay. You can see when this thing's forming, there's very, very little jet stream interference. Right out of nowhere, this thing just starts disappearing despite little wind shear at 300 millibars. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much what happened to Tropical Storm Kevin and why it was very, very short-lived. It was because they were using ionospheric heaters to shove the thunderstorms off to the northeast rapidly. They're like slamming the thunderstorms out of it, and it leaves the center of circulation right off the coast right here, and it's just going to travel up. I don't know if it's going to bring any rain to Southern California or not, because quite honestly, I know they like to keep droughts going. Okay, thank you for watching. Please stay tuned for any future videos here. I know there's going to be future videos because these criminals just don't want to give up, and they just don't care about the continuation of life on this planet. From what it seems, the lower level guys are pretty much told that they're doing something for the common good, but can't be further from the truth. Right, I'm done rambling now.